Welcome back. Today we will be talking about rational functions. So, rational functions is nothing but a fraction. As per the definition, it is a function that can be written as the quotient of two polynomials, p of x and q of x. Now, what is the meaning of a polynomial? You might have heard about polynomial more often, but it is a good idea to break the word poly and nomial in two parts. So, poly is nothing but many, and the last word is called monomial. Monomial means one single term. So, as I said, the easy way to understand rational function, it is nothing but the function that is written in the form of a fraction. So, p of x over q of x, provided that q of x should not be equal to 0. Because here's the thing, if q of x is 0, that means when 0 is under, if 0 is in the denominator, then it becomes undefined. I can also write function in a more mathematical way, numerator separately and denominator separately, as a function of p, which is the numerator, and as a function of q, which will form the denominator. Now I will write the function of a q of x in the denominator. So you might have seen these type of functions in various notebooks and online, but sometimes they become very intense. But remember one thing, rational function is nothing but in a fraction form. Now, that being said, there is one important thing that will be very useful with the rational function, is f of x 1 over x, right? So 1 is just a single constant and divided by x, which is a variable, or I can say 1 over x squared. How to graph these functions, we will learn about it in next videos. So basically, when we are talking about the rational function, we are also talking about something called asymptote. Asymptotes are nothing but they are dotted line where the function will try to reach, but it will never touch. So the approach is very, very important. For that, we will learn about arrow notations. Arrow notations, it is very crucial, especially when you will learn about the calculus and the limits. So you need to understand how to read these notations. For example, it says x arrow a and the top minus sign. What does that mean? It means x approaches a from the left. So negative implies coming from the left, right? So x is less than a, but it is not equal to a, only less than a, but very, very, very closer to 0, a. It is not 0, it is a. So x is less than a, but closer to a. In the same way, if the symbol is written as x arrow a plus, so instead of coming from the left, we are approaching from the right. So how you will read it? X approaches a from the right. Now again, x is not equal to a, but x is greater than a, but closer to a. Right? So be careful with the negative and positive and how to read them. We can extend this understanding further and remember right and left hand how the number line works. So if I say f of x is equal to a, so what we are looking for, this is the output. F of x is the output. Approaches a, right? The output f of x approaches a. So f of x is nothing but your y term, because a in this case is your input and f of x is output. Now let's talk about something with infinity. So infinity symbol, right? So infinity means there is no finite number. So we will read it as x approaches infinity. Now there is no positive or negative. So sometimes we assume it that we are talking about coming from the right. So x approaches infinity. That means x is increasing without bound. Without bound means there is no end point. There is no finite number. Right? It will keep on increasing up, up, and up. Another notation is when x, again with the arrow sign, infinity, negative. Now we are approaching, x is approaching negative infinity. Because it is negative infinity, it implies x is decreasing without bound. Because infinity, that means there is no finite number, there is no specific numbers, it can keep on going forever. That is the beauty of infinity, right? So coming from the x positive and x approaches negative infinity. Now if I have to write in the form of a function, so f of x arrow infinity, how will you read it? It is the output, f of x, output is nothing but f of x, right? Approaches infinity. Right? So we talked about a, we talked about infinity. Let's further write f of x, arrow sign, now negative infinity. So now negative infinity, that means it is a negative sign. So the same thing, the output, f of x, approaches negative infinity. So you need to specify whenever there is a minus sign is there, you need to specify that if we are talking about negative numbers. So little bit of understanding, and with the careful notation, you need to understand how to read the notation and write the notation. So f of x is increasing without the bond when it is the output f of x approaches to infinity, and f of x is decreasing without bond when f of x is approaching negative infinity. So bound, again without bond, that means it is not a finite number. It can keep on moving up and down. This arrow notation is extremely important. Practice this again and again, and trust me, you will be thankful for the limits. Make sure to subscribe and like.